let's have a little discussion about discussions. And I'll be using one class. I've got the two sections, so if you don't see your name or recognize your name or in the discussions, that's the reason. You're probably in section 2, and I'll be talking probably primarily here about section 1, at least for this short discussion. And I told everybody I kind of wanted to give you an idea of how you're doing. Okay, what the posts look like, where I might be on grading those, etc. And so let's go take a look. You guys might come up here and access it this way by clicking on discussions. Okay. And I posted the trial one here just to give people a chance. And I see for next week I've already got some folks firing off, ideas there. Again, I should add, part of the extra credit that you can obtain is to find articles that I might use later in the semester. If you do that, you might rather send those to me in an email. Just go ahead and copy and paste the link into an email and send that to me along with the summary. I want to know that you've read it, that you've kind of analyzed it a little bit and put a little thought into it. So summarize it a little bit. It doesn't have to be a 2-page summary. A few sentences should cover it, but please do that. And then if that's one that I would use, I would put a little mark by your name, I guess, in my unofficial grade book and add that at the end. So when I looked down the trial ones here, a few things. I see we had a new thread started by Robert on Reagan. It was about Hinckley, who was the guy who shot President Reagan way back when, probably long before any of you guys were born, and he has now been released from prison. And don't feel bad or good. I'm trying to give just normal critique here and want to let you know so I can keep you guys focused where I'd want. Not a bad article, kind of interesting discussion. Certainly involves law. This one may stray a little bit from our business law, right? Could you make some connections? Well, you could certainly make some connections to the criminal law part. A lot of this has to do with the person's mental capacity and those types of things. I'm sure there are business law cases that involve that, but we're probably talking about a pretty small number, okay? And so I think this one may get a little bit astray of the topic where we would like to be, and that's kind of focusing on the business law thing. I'm always hesitant to say that. I don't want people to, look at a sports example, and not put that in there, because there's some good sports examples. What's the whole thing with, again, Colin Kaepernick? I think I've talked about that, and not standing up for the national anthem. Certainly, he has every right to do that. What rights do his bosses have then? And that might be an interesting discussion. So, a lot of people commented on the Mylan thing. Okay, on the one that I had posted, and that was great. What I would say is that for the most part, the comments were fairly average. Okay, I don't want anybody to feel just average, but for the most part, they were just kind of average. Most people agreed, that geez, they were charging too much and they were hosing the consumers and on and on and on, and that's fine. Okay, but again, that was average. I didn't really find too many other examples. Somebody did post one other article, which I thought was good. It was way down here at the bottom. Sorry, I got to scroll all the way down. I'll shout out that person. Okay, it was a good thing. Where is it? How come I'm missing it? Maybe it was in a sub-thread or something, but they pointed out that the Scarelli case, and I can't remember the name of the company. Shoot, whoever did that, they actually posted an example of another case. Now, I would say that in that post, probably didn't summarize it enough, and again, draw some comparisons between the two, so that we can kind of look at it and say, oh, well, is that a precedent? What's going on there? Okay, etc. this is a case too if I were in class, and I guess since I have the mic in front of me, I can do whatever I want, but I'd play devil's advocate. And I'd play devil's advocate, and partly because I believe in playing devil's advocate in this case. I mean, everybody thinks that this is outrageous and it's horrible and it's expensive, and they're right. Okay, and Mylan may be going to make too much money off of that. Now they've come back and they're offering some cheaper products and whatnot. Okay, I was listening to a guy the other day talking about, in fact, it was about this Mylan case, and he was on CNBC. And he quoted something that kind of hit me. The United States makes up about 5%, maybe 6% of the entire world's population. The United States is responsible for roughly 60%, 60% of all new drugs, pharmaceuticals that hit the marketplace. Okay, why is that? The reason is we have good patent protection. Okay, so when a new drug is invented, they do get a monopoly. It's a grand monopoly, and we'll talk about that when we talk about intellectual property later on. That gives companies a right to profit immensely from these new products when they hit the market. Okay, but it gives those same companies the incentive. Okay, without that, there would be little incentive to develop. If with today's technology, you could develop a product, a new pharmaceutical today within hours, literally. Generic manufacturers could copy that and put it into production, and you would not reap the rewards of all your research and development. So we're very, very purposeful about giving people patents and giving them monopolies for these things for relatively short periods of time, 10 to 15 years, kind of depends on the product and whatnot. There was one recently that was developed, and I can't remember the company, but it was a cure for hepatitis C, and a lot of us aren't really familiar with hepatitis C, but it's a horrible disease. They'd had treatments for it. A lot of hepatitis C people received that from blood transfusions and whatnot from years ago before they were able to test the blood. And it was just horrible, okay, and they were treated and they'd keep people alive and whatnot, but a company came out with an actual cure. The cost of it was $180,000. That sounds horrible, right? It does. It sounds immense, okay? I don't know how much the company invested in it, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. The truth was, if you took that for the 12 weeks, and that's all it was, I think it was an injection once a week for 12 weeks, for 180 grand, 15 grand an injection, you'd be cured. From that point on, you don't have any more of those ongoing expenses, and neither does the healthcare system of the United States have to care for you and treat you for that horrible disease. Okay, and so I'll play devil's advocate on that one a little bit, but I got to get back. I digress a little and talk about some of these. We had an animal cruelty case talking about a cop who apparently left a dog in a vehicle. Okay, certainly, again, it obviously a criminal could be a criminal case, right? Animal cruelty would be criminal. Okay, I would point out somebody wrote, and let me see if I can find that. Yeah, it's clearly animal cruelty. That's correct. Okay, and which is criminal law. Negligence would be something we normally associate with civil law. Okay, that's normally something we associate with civil law. It has to do with torts, right? Negligence is one of the torts. Strict liability, negligence, and intentional torts. Okay, and so I'm kind of really getting picky there in saying that, but negligence would be a tort, which would be a civil law type of a thing that we would look at. So. Again, I would say that the comments in here were, again, fairly average. Didn't have people doing a ton of research and doing those types of things, coming up with extra stuff. The fact that it's a new article that was posted, though, would be certainly a plus. And lastly, I think we had, then the last one were just people commenting about the group itself and whatnot. So I like the new threads. I like that you're finding some things and you're posting those on there. Have at it. Those are pluses. Okay. Try to keep them focused on the business law thing. I'll give you an example. One that showed up today. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see. I don't find it there real quick. So one of the ways if I kind of read an article in the newspaper and I'm trying to find it and I can't, then I'll just come here and I'll use my Google or I use Bing. But okay, good old spokesperson for the subway. Okay, and here we go. News about Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle used to be a spokesperson for Subway because he'd lost a lot of weight and whatnot. But then he got arrested for child pornography. Well, now it turns out that he's suing the parents of one of the girls that was one of the subjects that apparently was involved in the whole child pornography thing. And he's suing them because they were responsible for her emotional distress, and I'm not sure if that's causing him emotional distress or not. This thing's just tinged with all kinds of great stuff, right? It's a lawsuit, so it's civil, right? He's going after them. It's a tort, right? That they were negligent, so it's a negligence tort. Okay, it could be. He might be claiming that it was intentional, but I doubt it. I'm thinking he's saying that they were negligent in the care of their daughter. And it kind of goes back, though. You go back to the original thing. What about Subway that had this person as a spokesperson and all the things that were involved with child pornography and what they could do and couldn't do as a spokesperson? So, interesting case. This would have been a good one. Sorry, I beat you guys to it. But I suppose we could post it and you guys could still comment about it because it is an interesting case. So I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity. I did post at the front page, and this is both sections, what your group numbers are. Okay, they're right up here in the front page. And so group 1 will be up for next week, and like I said, I see that we're already getting some posts. I think we have 10 for next week's discussion. The fact that I said that those, are kind of average posts, don't let that discourage you. Do average posts. Okay, make sure you do your 2 posts, and if you want to bump up your grade from average, a C, then get involved in the other, and of course read all of them. Get involved in the other ones when you're not assigned. Okay, that's certainly going to lead to a higher discussion grade, and that's I'll grade your posts and those types of things fairly harshly, but give you lots of opportunity to bump that up by participating otherwise.